Hello everybody and welcome back to Dollar Tree Dinners. Today we're going to be making Easter brunch, but not just any Easter brunch. I am not going to be deciding the menu. I'm going to let fate, otherwise known as the internet and programming, decide the menu for me. We're going to be trying to recreate an AI generated Easter brunch menu. I have been curious to know if these kinds of apps and platforms can be utilized as a budgeting tool, specifically when it comes to making meal plans and menus. Because to me, they're kind of like a fancy version of a search engine, but you can give it incredibly specific requests and have it churn out a result for you. So I want to see how practical it can be, and one thing that I would like to do in the future is to potentially see if I can use it to make me an entire week of meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The app that I'm going to be using is called ChatGPT, and it is a free app. You ask it a question, it gives you a result. And whatever it gives me is what we're going to make. Now, how you word your question is going to determine the kinds of results that you get. So let's get that open. I need an elegant but affordable Easter brunch menu, preferably under $40, and it needs to be quick and easy to prepare, also preferably under 1 hour. So again, you can ask it a pretty specific question like I did. Let's just fling it out into the internet and see what kind of a result we get. Okay, so we've got a spinach and feta frittata, a spring salad, herb roasted potatoes, fresh fruit platter, and some homemade lemonade. This menu is not only elegant, but affordable and easy to prepare, all within your $40 budget. I'm gonna also ask it to provide me with the shopping list for this menu. Okay, let's go to the store and buy the ingredients. Let's see if it comes out to under $40, because that was my request. And then we're gonna prepare the recipes and see how quick and easy they are to prepare. For this, I'm doing my shopping at a store called Food Lion. This is a local chain here in the Southeast. It's not the cheapest, nor is it the most expensive, so it's kind of just a median price. And I am just following the shopping list with a couple of exceptions. So first I got a dozen eggs. I also got a bag of spinach, and I got some feta cheese. I was hoping to get a feta cheese that was pre-marinated with some herbs, but they didn't have any of that. Next, we're getting some mixed greens, some cherry tomatoes, and a cucumber, as well as a vinaigrette. You can pick any one that you want. I went with sun-dried tomato. Here is where I do diverge ever so slightly. You can see these potatoes here. These come with seasoning and they're $3.99 each. These small bags of bite-sized potatoes are $1.99 each. Fresh herbs were also about $2 a piece. So if I were to buy potatoes and herbs and garlic, I would be over $8. Whereas I could just buy 2 of these kind of seasoned potato kits for $8, and for me that came out to be cheaper, so that's what I did. I could use regular cooking oil, which I do have at home, but this olive oil was $3.89 and the list said olive oil, so I am gonna grab that. Next, we're shopping for the fruit platter. Strawberries were on sale for $2.50 each. Green grapes were also on sale, but they didn't really look that good. I picked out the best bag that I possibly could. Produce at Food Lion is really hit or miss sometimes. But luckily for me, cantaloupe was also on sale, as was pineapple. The last thing on the list was lemons to make lemonade. I got a 2-pound bag, and then sugar for the lemonade, but I'm not gonna buy the sugar because I do already have sugar at home. And then moment of truth was how much did this come out to at checkout, and it came out to $42. That was kind of fun to follow along with the shopping list that they gave me, but also I got really lucky that the majority of items that were on that list were already on sale, and I don't know if that really coincides with the season, but we were pretty close to the $40 budget. Came in at $42, bless the sugar that I didn't buy, so $45, which isn't bad for a program coming up with a menu based on my parameters. And I do feel like overall this is going to be a relatively simple meal to prepare because there's only really 2 things that we need to cook, and then the salad and the fruit platter are just kind of chopping options. So I do think this fit the parameters that I set, but now we've got to prepare the brunch and see how it turns out. I am going to use some of my own cooking experience to kind of navigate this slightly, and I might make some minor tweaks of my own to certain recipes, but let's go ahead and jump right in. I do think we're going to start with the lemonade so that that can start to chill in the fridge. It basically just says to mix lemons, sugar, and water together. So it doesn't really give specific instructions on this. There are a lot of different ways to make lemonade, so you can feel free to use your preferred method. I feel like I want to use a version that also encompasses the peels, because that is one trick that I learned during my Great Depression cooking series, was that back then they not only used the juice from the lemon, but also the peels from the lemon, which is really helpful in getting a more intense lemon flavor with less juice. But everything does indeed circle back around, because some of the things that I learn about different cooking techniques come from recipes or episodes where I have tried other versions of things, like in this case, the lemonade. Let's see how much juice we get. This is always a bit of a hand workout. If you have a citrus juicer, it might be a little bit easier, but I only have a hand pressed juicer. So yeah, let me juice these 6 lemons and just see how much we get out of it. I used to love buying a big bag of lemons when they were on sale and making fresh squeezed lemonade. I feel like I did it in the summertime a lot, and I have always wanted a lemon tree. I don't have a lemon tree, and I know it's gonna take several years to actually have a tree that produces fruit. So I feel like by the time I actually have a tree that produces fruit, we'll probably have moved out of this house. It looks like I got about a cup of lemon juice out of those, but I think I am just gonna go ahead and juice the other 2, because usually I go for about a cup and a half or so when I'm making lemonade. I'm gonna strain that into my pitcher. Make sure that there's no seeds or pulp. So now into a pot, I'm gonna add all of my lemon rinds, and I'm gonna add about a cup of sugar and a cup of water. Actually, I'm gonna do a cup and a half to account for some evaporation. And I'm gonna let this come up to a boil. I did just realize that I do actually usually put about a cup and a half of sugar, not just a cup. So I'm gonna add an extra half cup of sugar into that. So we're boiling. I'm gonna lower that and let it simmer for 10 minutes. Let's go ahead and scoop out the lemon peels. I'm gonna do that first, and then I will strain it directly into my pitcher with the lemon juice. Mostly just remove any seeds that are kind of floating around in there. And then I'm gonna top this off with some iced water. And yes, I'm using a pitcher to fill a pitcher. This pitcher holds a little over 2 quarts. Let's give that a stir, and then I will set this in the fridge to chill until brunch is ready. So I think the next step is gonna be to prep the potatoes, because those are gonna take the longest amount of time in the oven. Again, I got these kind of not pre-seasoned ones, but they do come with the seasoning and stuff already. So I am gonna be roasting them in the oven. I think they are meant to be done in the microwave, but I'm gonna do them in the oven. So there's our little seasoning packets. All I'm gonna be doing with these potatoes is cutting them in half on each one, and that will make sense when we get to actually cooking them, but that's not gonna take very much time at all, because these potatoes are pre-washed. That's another reason why I like to buy these, because they're less work for me. I'm gonna toss those potatoes in a drizzle of olive oil and the seasoning mix, but I am not gonna use all of the second pack, because I don't think the potatoes are gonna miss it, and I think it would be nice to be able to add some of this seasoning mix into the frittata. So I'm gonna use all of the first pack and maybe about half of the second pack. That'll make good use of it to season our frittata. But we can get those kind of tossed together, make sure they're all well coated. And then the reason I cut each one of these in half is because I'm just going to place them cut side down directly onto a foil lined baking sheet. That way the cut side should get really nice and crispy as these roast in the oven. The one thing about this is that this is not the type of menu that I think I would have put together, so I think that's part of the fun aspect of it, of letting something else decide what I'm cooking, because I don't think I would have thought of these ideas on my own, personally speaking. I would have spent several hours researching brunch and kind of trying to figure out what ideas I could make, and it would have taken me a while to put together a menu like this, browsing various websites. So I do like the convenience factor of it for sure. and those potatoes fit perfectly on that baking sheet. I have my oven preheated to 400. And we're gonna roast those. I'm gonna think that they're gonna take somewhere between 25 to 30 minutes, but I will keep an eye on them. I'll set the timer for 25. Next, we're gonna get started on the frittata, which the only difference between a frittata and a quiche is the pie crust. So a frittata doesn't have a pie crust, whereas a quiche does. You could definitely make a quiche if you want to add in like a refrigerated pie crust. I'm going to be using the same bowl that I prepped the potatoes in. That way we still reserve all of those dried herbs without wasting anything. And I'm going to crack in all 12 of my eggs. Y'all can't get mad at me for putting the shells back in the carton because I'm doing all 12. So this carton is going to be thrown away after this. And this is where the reserved dried herbs go. I'm going to toss those in with the eggs. I don't think that we need all of the cherry tomatoes for the salad, and at the same time, I don't think that we need all of the spinach for the frittata. So the reason that I got spring mix was so that I could mix some of the spinach in with the spring mix so that we could have a little bit of a half and half, but I'm also thinking that I can use some of the tomatoes in the frittata to add some extra color to it. So let's just chop up a handful of our tomatoes, maybe like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 or so. That's about half of the carton, a little less than half the carton, and I'm just gonna cut those in half. I also think that that's kind of the fun part about it, like using some of the herbs from the potatoes in the frittata, taking this menu and this idea, but also using some of my same values and being able to overlap the ingredients between the meals to make them more versatile. I'm gonna throw down a little bit of olive oil into a cast iron skillet. You don't necessarily have to use a cast iron skillet. I'm gonna throw in a couple of handfuls of spinach. Pretty much just fill up the skillet because we know it's gonna wilt down a good bit. It's gonna be about half the bag. The other half I'll save for the mixed green salad. I like to use tongs for spinach because I feel like it's a little bit easier, but we're really just gonna let that wilt down. I'm gonna nestle that over to the side real quick and try to get a little bit of a char on these potatoes, a little char on these tomatoes too. We're gonna take that off the heat for a second. Make sure everything's kind of evenly distributed as much as I can across the bottom of the skillet. Pour over top our seasoned egg mixture. And then I'm gonna crumble our feta mixture right on top. Or not really feta mixture. We're gonna crumble our feta cheese into it. You could also reserve some of the feta cheese to use in the salad. Again, if we're talking about overlapping ingredients, that would be a great way to use some of it up. And actually I might do that because we are trying to make the best and the most of everything. The frittata is going to go in the oven with the potatoes. I'm going to put them on top of the potatoes so they don't have that direct heat right underneath it. And so these are all going to bake together until the frittata is set. And then while those are baking, we can start to work on the kind of no-cook prep options like the fruit platter and the salad. I'll do the salad last, most likely. We can get started on the fruit platter. Let's start with some of these bigger fruits like this cantaloupe. I liked that this menu incorporated some larger, less expensive fruits like cantaloupe. This was $2 because it helps to fill out some of the more expensive ingredients like the grapes and the strawberries. I did have to look up, ways to present a fruit platter because that's not something I've ever really done before. So I had to find some images for some inspiration on how I want to plate this. And the picture that I saw that I really liked had the cantaloupe cut into wedges, which is pretty much what I'm going to do because I thought that that looked the best. So I'm just going to cut it into quarters and then like 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch slices. Personally, I don't like cantaloupe. I don't like melons of any kind. That includes honeydew melons, watermelons. I don't like them. But I do like pineapple. So the cantaloupe's going to be for Michael, but the pineapple is going to be for me. And hopefully it's ripe. I do not have one of those little pineapple corer things. So I just cut my pineapple the old-fashioned way. I do like the version of cutting a pineapple though where you like take the seeds out in the spiral pattern. I think it looks really nice. So I usually do that. You don't have to do it that way, but I also feel like that wastes a lot less of the pineapple than other methods of removing these kind of seed pockets. I think they're seed pockets. So not only does it look nice, but it wastes less of the pineapples. So I really only carve what I have to carve. There are some spots on this that don't really have those little seed pockets, so I didn't carve it. It stayed kind of flat. Because again, I'm not really trying to... I also don't really like the idea of wasting fruit for presentation, so, you know, there's a lot of factors that go into play here. But now I'm just going to cut out the core, which is also one of my favorite parts about buying a whole pineapple, because I like to just... And that's a good way to test and see if the pineapple is ripe. And in this case it is. It's perfectly sweet. I got so lucky. For the pineapple, I'm probably just going to cut it into about 1-inch chunks. And then I've got my cantaloupe on 2 chargers. I'm going to also pile the pineapple in a row along those 2. If you're a fan of fruit in your salads, I'm sure you could also do some of the strawberries in with the salad that we're going to make. I definitely didn't expect all that fruit to fill up 2 full trays. So even if you needed something to bring to a brunch, you could definitely do something like this. Pretty affordable because of the cantaloupe and the pineapple, if you can get them on sale. Make a couple piles of just the single little grapes from the bottom of the bag. But I do try to keep the grapes on their little stems. So I'm gonna put a couple of like little bundles of grapes. There is our fruit platters ready to go, and we do have 2 of those, so already off to a good start. The frittata's out of the oven, that's fully set. I'm just checking on the potatoes to see how brown they are. Some of them are kind of sticking a little bit. They should release as they cool. This is nonstick foil, but let's check on a couple of them. Yeah, I'd say those look pretty good. That is pretty much exactly what I was going for on the potatoes. I did try some of the grapes. They're good. They're not like, I think I picked out a good package. Always be sure to taste the fruit before you serve it, because you never know if it's going to be ripe or sour. I think the last thing to prep then is the salad, which we're also keeping super simple. You can leave the tomatoes whole. When it comes to salads, I like, let me not do that. You can leave the tomatoes whole, but when it comes to salads, I like to quarter them. But these are a little soft, so maybe I'll just cut them in half. I'm just not a big fan of biting into a whole grape tomato, so I always like to cut them at least in half. And I think that just leaves the cucumbers and then assembling the salad. I don't have any kind of fancy serving bowls. I'm just going to use a mixing bowl, just a clear glass one. I do need to go to a thrift store at some point and get some servingware. There is our salad greens. Along with our spinach, usually I would buy a 50-50 mix, which is salad greens with spinach. But since I already had the spinach, I'm basically making my own 50-50. Trying not to make a mess, but again, this is the biggest bowl I have, so it's gonna have to do. We can layer on some of our chopped tomatoes along with our cucumber. Should have did the tomatoes last so that you have that pop of red coming out. And then I did reserve a portion of that feta cheese to crumble on top. You can dress the salad in advance if you want, but I'm not gonna dress the salad. I'm just gonna serve the dressing on the side. That way the salad doesn't wilt. I'm gonna serve it just like this with everything layered on top. Once you toss it, I find that all the toppings kind of sink to the bottom anyways. So I asked AI to give me an elegant but affordable Easter brunch for around $40 that was quick and easy to prepare. And I feel like it accomplished that. That is an absolutely beautiful brunch. We have a spinach and feta frittata. We have some herb roasted potatoes, a mixed green salad, 2 full trays of fresh fruit, and of course we can't forget about our fresh squeezed lemonade. So I think it's time we make our plate. I still don't have a pie server. I know you guys get on my case about that all the time, but I always forget to buy one. Even when I'm at the store, even when I think about it before I walk into the store, I still forget. But that is our little spinach and egg frittata. Got some of our roasted potatoes. Pretty sure this will be the first time on this channel that I have ever eaten a salad. You can of course have any dressing of your choice with this salad. I love sun-dried tomato vinaigrette, always one of my favorites, and I like to use this on sandwiches, not just salads. And then we can fill out the rest of our plate with some of our fruit. I am not going to be eating cantaloupe because, as I mentioned, I don't like cantaloupe, so I'm just going to go for the grapes along with some of the pineapple and strawberries, which are my favorite, absolute favorite fruits. So that's a per person serving, assuming that you have, 6 to 8 people, a slice of frittata, some potatoes, some fruit, and some salad, along with our fresh squeezed lemonade. For the price and what I got and the fact that it's an Easter brunch, I am really impressed with the menu that this AI came up with. I feel like I might actually use this program a little bit more for my own holiday menu planning because it's not something I would have come up with myself, but it is, in my mind, pretty perfect for a brunch. The only thing is I would typically probably not serve a salad with brunch. You guys will have to let me know if that's pretty common, but I would personally probably replace the salad with something like biscuits. It's a really well balanced brunch. But you know what? Let's stop yapping about it and let's try it. The only real thing to try, I feel like, are the potatoes, the salad, and the quiche, or the frittata. I'm gonna start with the frittata. It was such a good call putting those herbs in with the eggs because I can definitely taste them in the frittata. It gives it like a really nice garlicky flavor. I think that was a really good call. That's actually really good. I'm really happy with how that frittata turned out. Lemonade's perfect. It's not too tart. It's not too strong. It's actually really perfect. Makes me want it to be summer already. Next we have our roasted potatoes. I have no complaints with this brunch whatsoever. It's salty, it's sweet, it's savory, it's got a balance of light and heavy. The potatoes are like the heavy, whereas the fruit is the light. This is a better menu than I could have come up with on this budget. And maybe my job is being replaced by AI too. I need to be totally honest with you guys. This is a 10 out of 10 brunch for me. I'm really glad that I tried this. I do think it's a great way of coming up with a holiday menu. If you don't want to spend hours upon hours researching it and you're willing to just kind of let a program guide you and give you some ideas. Is it always going to be perfect? Probably not, but at least for this test, and I will do future tests on this, I think it was a great spread. I think it kind of ticked all the boxes that I asked it for. So overall, I'm really happy with it. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you again soon.